14,068. The first test for parents after giving birth. Question. Not long ago, I happened to study about postpartum pain during one of your Dharma talks. In that lecture on postpartum pain, you mentioned that if you greedily claim the child as strictly your own, the gods will become angry and leave. I am asking this question because I would like to hear more details about this part. I pray for your words of wisdom. Thank you.
The great deities Daesin, who manage postpartum pain, and come when a child is produced and born, come from the Seongguan Celestial Bureau heavenly officials. They do not come from our ancestral spirits. They are managed by the Seongguan. We need to understand even why the Seongguan manages this. Although you are the ones giving birth to this child now, breathing life into it and allowing it to live as a human being is something done by nature. It is done by the heavenly realm. So, they do that. But don't you go through a hard time and suffer? Isn't it difficult? Giving birth to a child is incredibly difficult. An immense amount of devotion goes into it. From growing the fetus until giving birth, devotion goes into it. And when you are working hard and putting in devotion to fulfill that mission, heaven helps you. So, that is the Seongguan helping you. It is not our ancestors helping right now, at this stage. When it comes to conceiving a child, the gods pour their entire soul into producing a human being and sending them to this global village. They do this, and when the time comes to give birth, it becomes very difficult. When the parents, the mother, have a very difficult time giving birth, the one who comes to look after her is what we call Samshin Halmoni, the triple goddess of childbirth, three grandmothers. What kind of grandmother, what kind of deity is Samshin Halmoni? She is a deity who receives all the energy of heaven and earth, takes over the soulful power of our ancestors, borrows all the power of Samshin, and comes with that spiritual power. This is the one we call Samshin Halmai. A deity has arrived who has inherited and is managing even the energy of human beings as a proxy for heaven, earth, and humanity, Cheon Ji-in. Therefore, she will help you produce the child, and because we are different from animals when we produce this baby, all of our pores expand and open up completely. Then, the deity watches over us even to the point of treating and restoring this. The reason your parents-in-law treat you so well when you give birth is because Samshin Halmoni is present. This kind of principle is also contained within that. That is why our ancestors cannot act carelessly. Why? Because a heavenly deity is helping right now. But when we think about it, we think, they are treating the daughter-in-law so well out of greed to see their grandchild. That is just your thought. There is a principle by which nature operates. So the great deities of our family's ancestry cannot just do as they please. Why? Because the heavenly deity is looking after the daughter-in-law. These kinds of principles exist. There are principles by which the gods operate. So when you give birth to a child like this, you must hold this in gratitude. In gratitude. To whom? To your husband? To heaven. For a child, you give thanks to heaven. Because it is giving me a duty. Giving me the duty to raise the child well, you give thanks to heaven. And during the Samchilil, 3 times 7 days, meaning 21 days, she looks after you. There is meaning in all of that. For 21 days, during Samchilil, she is looking after you. That is why during those 21 days, people do not carelessly mistreat you so that you can manage your body. Even if they wanted to mistreat you, they couldn't, unless there is a disciple who throws a fit and acts out completely on their own whim. So, while the heavenly deity is here looking after you, our guardian spirits Shinjang cannot act carelessly either, and it becomes a protective shield. In that way, she takes responsibility until your body can fully heal to a certain extent. Since it expanded, it needs to contract, and then she departs. That is why, once the 21 days have passed, you are supposed to say thank you, set out the traditional freshwater oksu, and vow, I will raise this child well. We were never taught this. You are supposed to raise the child, after thanking nature and the heavenly deities, saying, thank you, I will diligently look after and raise this child. But as soon as people give birth to it, what do? They say, my baby. They think it is their baby just because they gave birth to it. Then that makes you an animal. A soul must enter an animal body. And what is that? A god spirit. Only when a spirit enters do we use the character Gangan. Between for Ingan Rengen, human being. It was born as an animal and cried out, right? Once it cries, you should embrace it and be grateful for giving you a child. But if you say, my baby, now you are going to get beaten down. Because you keep saying my baby, hugging it, and saying, my baby, Samshin just left. It means she left without regulating your body through nature. Because she left, your body stopped right there, and because the expanded density was left as it was, when things settled down later, the wind holes did not close up completely. So people say that the wind is breezing through them. They say the wind is breezing through. Therefore, you should have been grateful to nature so that nature could fully take care of what it was supposed to take care of. But because you snatched it away saying it was your baby, she said, "Fine, you raise it yourself, you wench," and left. Laughter because you said it was your child. Does that happen to just anyone? It only happens to Korean people, the Chosun people. The Chosun people on the Korean peninsula. It is most severe here, and even if you are elsewhere, when testing the DNA of our nation's lineage, if it is very close to the lineage at 99%, this applies to them too. As the lineage dilutes, postpartum illness disappears. Why? Because you are the descendants of heaven, Cheon-sun. Nature teaches you this precisely. The descendants of heaven are the owners of this great universe of heaven and earth. So you must know this, and walk together with it. This is how it is. Therefore, when we give birth to a new life, we should have always studied what this life is. But there was no one to teach us this study. We did not give birth to a new life like a dog or a pig. If we gave birth like that, we could just call it an animal. But when the character gan between is attached to ingan human, it is because a spirit entered, and this spirit, which is non-material, fused with the material body of the animal. That is why we use the character gan, and use the word ingan. Thus, a spirit must enter for it to become a human being. If a spirit does not enter, it just becomes an animal. Then the development of intellect is slow. And there are many such differences. Since it already happened without you knowing, what should you do now? You should pick a day at some point and say, "I did not know. Please forgive me." A wrongdoing is an event that has already occurred. Then you have to properly confess the event to receive forgiveness, right? When we do that, we perform a ritual to welcome the deity's Maji, or create a setting to perform a certain action. What we refer to as doing a gut shamanic ritual, or offering a mountain spirit ritual Sanshin Maji. We invite the mountain spirit and explain that we came because of such and such reasons, so that our designated manager, Samshin Halmoni, can forgive us. We need to do some administrative processing. By doing so, you say, "Please forgive me because I did not know," and you set things right. If disciples had studied properly, they should be doing that for people. But because they don't study this and don't know, what do they say instead? They say, "Sell the child." That means they have the intuition, but they don't know the exact study. Since you acted out of your own greed saying it was your baby, they tell you to sell the child. But where do they sell it? They say, "Sell it to the Buddha," or, "Since your cousin doesn't have a child, sell it to your cousin." They use these kinds of expedients. Those are just expedients. What you really need to do is understand precisely and say, "Please forgive the sin I committed in ignorance against nature." This is a major sin. People who are receiving this kind of punishment because of these things often face situations where, even when the child grows up, the child causes them heartache and breaks their heart. And many accidents happen too. Why? Because the gods are not watching over them. So, when doing that, we offer a ritual Maji or request help by receiving some form of systemic deliverance JEDO, things like that. Once you do that, the way the child comes to life changes drastically. That is the principle within it. Therefore, you can look at a person with postpartum illness as someone who is currently carrying a sin they committed. So, once you repent for your wrongdoing, ask for forgiveness, and diligently study what you didn't know, your body returns to normal at that moment. Do you understand?